So hey guys, Tomer here and welcome to a video. Now this video is just gonna be just me kinda rambling a bit. Just a bit. This is an interesting observation I've made about feminism. You know, I was looking up the phrase "ill met by moonlight" because I found it referenced in different places, and I wanted to check out what it meant, really. It's a reference to a line from Shakespeare's a Midsummer Night's Dream. I had to read that up, you know. But yeah, I was checking that out, and I found in the critiques section, I found feminism. So I read that part, and I've noticed an interesting difference between how people saw things back in the Elizabethan era and the Victorian era and the Georgian era, or any of these other eras of British monarchs, and not just British, not in just British works of art, but in works of art and literature, but also in the works of art and literature of other places. You'll notice a big contrast there, and I wanted to really make that observation. Now most people will be like, well, yeah, feminism sees things differently than the people of those times, you know, no shit, Sherlock. But let me explain. So, if you look at these eras and you compare it to feminism, you'll notice something. They talk about virgins shedding blood after their first sexual intercourse. They see that these societies in the past see this as like the consummation of marriage, this blood that unites these two people, because it's blood coming from one person being shed into the other person's body part, touching the other person's body part. And well, it sounds very gruesome today, and it is gruesome, of course, you know. Most people were willing to do it because, well, they were with the person of their life, you know, they were with the person they were gonna marry. But you'll notice these people have such a positive outlook about menstruation, virgins shedding blood after their first sexual intercourse, marriage in general, just the whole thing with marriage. Virginity. Virginity was also a thing that was was praised a lot back in those times. And I am by no means a traditionalist in those aspects. I don't agree with them in all of these things. I don't agree with them. I think they put ordinary women who have never had sexual intercourse, they put them on a pedestal, and I don't particularly like putting people on pedestals. It's also not something that's gonna gets people very far in today's world, you know. Some people are just sensitive like that, and they like praising people for ordinary things. And when they're really in love with someone, that's what they do, or when they're really into someone. But it doesn't lead somewhere today. That's the sad part, really. But you see these people's outlook on it, and you see that they have such a positive look on it, and they put these women on pedestals, and they care for these women. And then you look at the feminist outlook on these things, and you notice, you notice menstruation being the woman's curse. You notice these feminists talking about how marriage is just giving control of the woman from the father to the husband. You'll notice things like that. These types of things. You'll notice male dominance over women. These are the main themes. These are the main critiques feminists have over these great works of art and literature, which, as I said, they make these things seem kind of divine. They make these things, they make, as I said, virginity, menstruation, shedding blood after intercourse. They make these things seem divine, holy, magical, great. And they really hype them. They give this hype to these things that, well, I don't think it should be there. It is magical. And they can portray this in their works of art and literature. And the feminists go on and they have such a cynical fucking outlook on these things. Which I kinda understand having this. I mean, feminism is all about talking about the disadvantages of being a woman. That's what feminism is about. That's what feminism has always been about. But it's just this thing where they talk about it in such a way, have such a cynical outlook on the world. I think feminism, by criticizing the negatives of being a woman and how this should be turned to positives in the societal negatives and the political negatives, to be more precise, because these are the things that can be changed by passing or repealing a law. They kinda, by criticizing these negative elements, they kinda became negative in and of themselves, I think. And feminism in general became negative. And that's how, like, this is common, this is frequent in all forms of feminism. It's not necessarily a demonization of men, but it is this recognition of male power, and it's this very subtle, I guess, insinuation that men are somehow aware of that power and frequently use it and abuse it to get ahead in life. And women are the primary victims of this male dominance over society and politics and whatever. And it's such a negative outlook on life. And you contrast that with these people's positive outlook on these different things, and it really shows. It really shows about, people usually joke about how feminists are these very negative people. They are these bitter harpies that screech about these different things, and they are kind of right in this aspect. Because if you look at this, right? They are right in this case. They have such a negative outlook on this. It is just, you can see that it's really a bitter thing to have, Feminism has just, all of feminism has become very bitter in its interpretation of the world, And it's not like, that there are so many rights that women can fight for nowadays, You've achieved almost everything. What more could you want? So, yeah, that's the observation I made, and I think it's a very interesting one. I think most people have arrived at this point where they know about this, of course, but I thought I'd highlight it for those who haven't thought of this. So, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed me just rambling about this thing, and I hope it just gave you a new idea to think about, so a new way to think about things, I guess, or something like that. I'm sorry, I'm losing my, I can't think of English words right now. So yeah, have a fantastic evening, and thank you so much for watching.